Good evening, beautiful people. Welcome to another episode of Kiko's Freethinkers Forum. We're at episode 113. We're joined by a repeat guest. His name is Lobo. And if y'all don't know who he is, he joined us in episode 96. He has a very influential YouTube channel that I suggest you guys go check out. My audience at Kiko's Freethinkers Forum, go check out Lobo's content. I will link his YouTube channel at the end of the episode description. He covers the entertainment industry, music, sports rigging, which we're going to talk plenty about today. Lots of personalities within the sports world. I'm just really excited about this conversation. And this is a quick turnaround because I was originally not going to invite Lobo back on so quickly, but just due to the urgency of some of the events going around the sports world today, I felt like it was appropriate to give him an invite again. I'm glad he graciously accepted the invitation again. And I just want to say welcome back to the show, this episode 113.
Appreciate you for having me back on here.
Yes. Just a quick ad before we get started. I just want to say I think it's super important to support independent media. It's simply a click. Subscribe for free. We're not asking you for any money or anything. That doesn't cost you anything. A lot of the higher content channels, like whether it's news or whatever, I think people are so quick to support those types of things in the mainstream media. But when it comes to independent media, people are more hesitant for whatever reason. And I just say, if you like the content, even if you don't agree with all the viewpoints, but you get a value from it, give that support. You know, no one's trying to give you, let us get some of this YouTube ad revenue. So give us a free subscription and then let YouTube take care of the rest. That's the way I tell people. I have a large international audience. 42% of the people that follow my channel are outside of the United States. That was always the purpose, to make it an international community forum. I like these types of interviews today, for instance, because we don't just talk about politics. That is the majority of what we discuss on this show. We do a lot of social issues, very targeted issues, but we do cover sports and some pop culture stuff, but within a certain context. And so I'm excited when I am able to take a break from some of the political stuff and discuss things more in the entertainment spectrum, more or less. But I wanted to get started with Lobo. We have so much to discuss. Why not start with the aftermath of the Super Bowl with the Chiefs and the 49ers? And I just want to get, like, what was your overall impression as far as like expectations before the game happened? What happened after the game?
Initially, I thought that the Niners was gonna win because it seemed a little too obvious to have the Chiefs winning with the whole Taylor Swift storyline. But we saw the league kept with it, and it was a smarter decision to do anyway because you get to secure the female audience and get them as fans. So for next season, they'll watch the games, and you could also build in the father daughter bonding time as well. So there was also that aspect of it on top of it.
Oh wow, I never even thought of that before. That's deep, man. The father-daughter bonding time. They're thinking about that stuff.
Yeah, same thing we're seeing with Caitlin Clark and women's college basketball as well. It's the same concept, and it's smart because on top of that, you got your female viewers who they always have all these commercials during these games, especially in the NFL, and women spend more money than men do, so it only makes sense to secure that fan base so they can keep buying products that are sponsoring this league. So
Okay, that's. I tell you what, that's a very interesting take. I like that take though. It's something that I never really considered because it's almost like with some of these issues with sports, some things seem like almost a shiny object, but you're pointing out things that aren't so obvious to the public. I think that's what's so cool about your content and just your views. Um, I do want to delve more into this Super Bowl stuff though, because man, the point spread to me was so obvious. Like we already knew that Vegas was going to be the host of the Super Bowl, and
mhm.
so they asked me that I watched the game. I was like, hell no. Like honestly, I didn't. I watched maybe a quarter, and it's just so hard when you got kids because they like the sports. And my son was like, "Daddy, you really don't want to watch the game?" And I was like, "Dude, the Chiefs are going to probably end up winning some kind of way if it's close within the margin." And I looked at the point spread on ESPN, and the over and under, I shit you not, was 46 and a half. 46 and a half, and the Niners were a point and a half favorite to win the game. And so you look at the final score, what happens? 47, it barely goes up to 46 and a half.
Mhm.
You can't tell me that that's coincidental. Like, it's just, I see this all the time in the big games.
Oh, of course. Yeah, they not gonna bullshit around with a big game. They're gonna make sure things go according to the script. They made sure this game was It started off slow. It was boring in the first half, but in the second half, all of a sudden, Kansas City could do the things that they couldn't do in the first half, and especially on those last couple drives, whether it be in overtime and late in the fourth quarter, all of a sudden they couldn't get any pressure on Patrick Mahomes, and they made him look like this superhero who could just do no wrong and lead them to victory.
He said all of a sudden they couldn't get pressure on him. I think there was a game. It was I don't know if it was a Super Bowl. It was doing a playoff. It was against the Titans. That's how I remember it so well. Like these motherfuckers it's like they pretended that they couldn't tackle him. He was just, and he was running so slow, but it's like somehow he was breaking all the tackles. The Titans were just jumping at him, and he just ran right by them. It just this happens very much with Mahomes. It seems like they make him this superhero type guy.
Yeah, there was a game against the Jets. It was Sunday Night Football. Same thing happened where he was out in the open. There was a cornerback. Easily should have went and tackled him, but instead he decided he's gonna go at one of his other players, other teammates, and it's like, you just not gonna hit him, you just gonna let him run out of bounds. Okay.
Ridiculous, I tell you. But I have to ask you this question. I know we briefly mentioned it the last episode on 96. Again, audience, go back, check out the episode 96, had a great reception. As far as the numerology stuff is concerned, how much stock do you put into numerology when we talk about these types of games?
It's big in these type of games, especially Super Bowl, really any NFL game, but especially like Super Bowl or any championship for that matter, you're gonna see those numbers pop up. Whether it be, what was it, the Chiefs are now what, 4-2 in Super Bowls? And it was the 42nd day of the year. So it is not coincidental that these numbers just land.
Do you put any stock into this three, the sixes, and the nines?
Yeah, they love to point those stats out in any game. You can watch the NCAA tournament and still see that. It could be like the score could be tied at 33 all at halftime. It could be 66 all at the end of the game leading into overtime. You always see these same numbers over and over and over.
The reason why I ask is because I see this on other channels, and I just like just in passing out, look, it's like okay, the numerology, and then all this coding and all this stuff. I'm just like, what the hell is this? You know. But then the threes, the sixes, the nines, I pulled up just for giggles. We already talked about the point spread, how obvious it was with the rigging in Vegas. Um, Oddly enough, this Super Bowl. And then not to mention the COVID Super Bowls where you have both hosts winning right on the cusp of COVID. You have the Bucks winning, Brady's first year with the new team. Somehow they win the Super Bowl. LeBron James, they win their Mickey Mouse ring in the bubble. Kobe dies, the Lakers win, just magically everything falls in place. But these numbers here are crazy. Mahomes threw for 333 yards. He ran 9 times for 66 yards. Kelsey caught 9 balls for 93 yards. Like all three sixes and nines. And then you mentioned the second half earlier. The fourth quarter, the Niners outscored the Chiefs 9-6 in overtime. The Chiefs outscored them 6-3. All three sixes and nines. And that's not even the only thing that's crazy about these numbers. There was a missed extra point to even cause the spread to go over the total. So if the Niners make the extra point, do we even go into overtime? Is the question.
Exactly.
Or it's just crazy with all these numbers. Do you think that just how did they plan it out so good like that with the even the yardage like down to the number they get it right?
I'm gonna add one more three in there. The address of Allegiant Stadium is 3333 Al Davis. What Drive Boulevard Way, whatever it is.
You
Four
kidding me?
threes. Nope, and that was his third Super Bowl.
Mm.
So yeah, as far as the yards to answer your question, it's really more. Well, they got statisticians and stuff that help them keep up with stats. Same with basketball and all that. But whenever you see certain players, like they'll catch a ball and then they'll start running backwards in open field for no reason, just to run forward to let somebody tackle them, and you can tell it's little things like that. It's very subtle.
So that means that the players are in on it based on that kind of observation.
Yeah, they're in on it from that, and then the incentives in their contract as well. Like I know, what was it? Gilbert Arenas mentioned this. Like NBA players know like what they're averaging and how many points they need to score to hit a certain points per game for like a certain, say, like a $500,000 bonus for the year. So like they know, they're well aware, and these players also know the betting lines and stuff too.
Yeah, so we definitely discussed that end of it. The previous episode. There's definitely a concerted effort to really bring in the sponsor dollars. I mean, you bet the partners. I mean, all the books, the sports books are partners with the leagues themselves, so they don't even have to fake around anymore like it used to be. And when you play these parlays and stuff, people just keep in mind that you're probably going to lose if you're betting because this is going to bring up another question later. It's unrelated to what I'm about to say now, but just keep in mind because I was watching some interviews on YouTube, and the mobster guys themselves were saying, "You know that it's not set up for you to win, right? Like they call it a parlay for a reason, because the more games you add onto that parlay, the more likely you're going to lose your parlay. You're not going to. Who's going to actually cover 9 legs on a parlay? Like how consistently can you do that?
Exactly. And
It's just
especially if you see it promoted by like FanDuel or something like put $10 on this parlay and it'd be some crazy shit that all needs to happen. Somebody got to get 2 touchdowns. They got to throw for 400 yards. Somebody else needs 2 rushing touchdowns. And you know damn well they gonna come close to at least a couple of just to piss people off. That's what they gonna do.
I think within the last 2 years, the ones that really got me well, because they're seeing a lot of the free bets and stuff, like, oh, Jerry, you have $100 in free bets. I'm like, damn, $100. They just give me money. But you go on there and it's like the plus 100. I never forget that night where Justin Herbert had to throw one touchdown pass the whole game. It was plus 100 odds, and they're promoting it. And he didn't even get the touchdown pass. You know what? What's the chance, right? He doesn't get the touchdown. And then they had the crazy plus 100. I think it was last year. The Bears were playing someone, and Fields had to get a rushing touchdown. And they were at the goal line, and then they reviewed the play. Clearly, Fields broke the play, and they decided that he didn't score the touchdown. But that was one of the promotions that FanDuel had where Fields had to get a rushing touchdown plus 100. So they're basically just shining it in your face. You were close to winning, but you just didn't win.
Yeah, that's like the bad beats on ESPN late at night. Will just be like they'll point out the point spread, they'll point out the over under, and then they'll show like a player who did a layup who shouldn't have done it, or a football player who scored a touchdown who didn't need to, just to rub it in your face.
You mentioned this earlier, which is so interesting, the Caitlin Clark stuff. I mean, personally, I don't want to come across as a hater, but I'm really tired of hearing about Caitlin Clark. That's the reason why I brought you on too, because I don't know what your take is about this situation, but I've never seen a female basketball player in recent memory hyped up this much. Is it simply a racial thing? Like, what exactly goes into this Caitlin Clark stuff?
Let's see. I'm glad you mentioned that because yeah, there hasn't been a lot of female basketball players that really push like that since I know growing up it was Brittany Griner and before her Candace Parker. But other than that, we haven't heard anything like this. And it's definitely a racial thing. She's the safe white girl. Like there was another one she played last night, Paige Beckers, just
Oh
as good
yeah,
as Caitlin
yeah.
Clark. But the thing is this: Paige just so happens to date black guys and have a lot of black friends. They don't like that. They want to have Caitlin Clark, the homesome little farm girl who from the Midwest, who's probably gonna go to Indiana. It's safe. They probably gonna have them beat South Carolina to make her look like she's all this good. They beat the Goliath, in my opinion, of course. So yeah, that's what they trying to do with Caitlin Clark. Build her up as the Great White Hope for the WNBA, which will not work.
I was going to ask you, so you really believe that they're going to break the South Carolina undefeated streak this year? Because they're 38-0 right now.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, who else to do it? Better than the person who's the face of women's basketball right now.
I honestly thought UConn was going to beat them. last night. I'm not even gonna lie. I thought the UConn was gonna beat them. I just don't know why my brother had this question. I was telling him that I was going to possibly interview you again, and I was asking him, how is she so unguardable? Like, I know she has range, but it's like they put Van Lith on her during that game with LSU, short ass Haley Van Lith. Because Caitlin Clark is like, she's giving up 6 inches to Clark, basically, in
Yeah.
height. So why would you put on someone that short against a 6 foot guard that has that kind of range? You know, I don't understand why they didn't have Floje. I think Floje is her name. They didn't
Yeah,
have her
Flau'jae
on her.
Johnson, yeah.
They put Haley on her. But I don't know. It just seems like her game, you can stop it if you have the right personnel. I just don't understand how some of these teams allow her to get those kind of buckets. I don't know. Maybe she is that good. What do you think
I
about it?
mean, she's good. The thing is this though, like in the first half of that UConn game, you saw there's ways to stop her. There are definitely ways to stop her. She does take some bad shots, but they don't want to say that. But the main thing is they need to allow her to do what she does late in games to make her shine like the hero, and she gets the benefit of the referee's whistle when she drives to the basket and doesn't get anything. And teammates be offensively fouling all the time, illegal screens, but they don't call it on Iowa.
Yes, you're bringing up the technicalities and stuff with the way they call the games, and we know that they favor the star players. That's just the way it is. The difference with this is that I don't, like I said, a female basketball. First of all, I loved growing up. When I grew up, we probably watched more female collegiate sports than men because we were big UT women's Vols fans. I wasn't. I was secretly a Vandy fan because I just didn't want to see. I wanted anybody to beat UT. I couldn't stand UT back in the day, and it's messed up because I'm a UT alum and you are too. And I still don't like UT. I don't know what it is, man. I don't know if it's because
That's
I'm from the Nashville
crazy.
area. I was just like, I know Vanderbilt is sorry as hell, but it's like, damn, I hope they beat UT today. It's like, damn, UT always beat the ass. I'm like, shit, I might as well cheer for UT. They're gonna beat the ass that much. But so they make you a fan even when you don't want to be a fan because they beat the team so much. But they had some great teams with Tamika Catchings, Holtzclaw, Candace Parker. They've had great teams. But the Caitlin Clark stuff is interesting because she's getting paid 3.1 million just from NIL. She's gotten that kind of money. Is this a power play when it comes to the equal pay debate with the women and the men in the WNBA versus the NBA? Is that the reason why they're hyping up so much too?
I've never thought about that until you said that. That is a very good point. And I think I don't know about the equal pay part, but I'm thinking of you remember when they did the during All-Star weekend that little 3-point thing with the
I
woman
mean,
I can't
that's
pronounce her name.
yeah,
Yeah, they gonna have Caitlin Clark probably go against Steph Curry and actually have her beat Steph
her
is
beating
what I think
Steph.
gonna happen because they really need somebody to save the WNBA because I'm already predicting this. There's only gonna be like 2 or 3 games that actually get good viewership whenever she goes there. It's gonna be her first game when she plays in WNBA. It's gonna be whenever she plays Angel Reese and maybe maybe the WNBA finals if they really hyped it up and promoted it properly.
The thing about the WNBA is that they have talent in that league. Um, this may be an attempt to get people to put more eyes on the WNBA because I mean they got balls in the WNBA, whether it's Tarasi, I mean you have Maya Moore, Simone Augustus. I mean they got people who can play basketball. Brianna Stewart. Back in the day, I used to love Lauren Jackson.
Mhm.
There's just so many skilled players in that league and that past and present future. But the Caitlin Clark stuff is just it's going to be interesting to watch the game when they play South Carolina, just to see how they referee the game, to see the storyline, just to see how the commentators discuss the game. I can't wait to watch that game. Are you going to actually watch that game?
Yeah, I've been watching since what Monday, the LSU Iowa game, and I'm not even gonna lie, like I'm not a big women's basketball person. I haven't really watched it since Candace Park and those UT teams are winning. But I've actually enjoyed these games. Like they're close. You can tell they play with some physicality. I miss the dunking though. I do miss the dunking. But other than that, It's not a bad product. The college part is not a bad product. WNBA is a terrible product. There's no way around it, even if they have good players.
And that's the thing. And see, the WNBA is technically owned by the NBA, right?
Yeah.
So I know you've probably heard of this thing lately too. Ice Cube throwing $5 million at Caitlin Clark with the big three, which is crazy. Because like I said, there have been so many good female basketball players. I'm like, but they're gonna throw money at her? Like, I don't understand, like, why her especially? And you mentioned something earlier about Ionescu. I believe they tried something with Sabrina Ionescu because my team, the Ducks, Oregon Ducks, I love some Oregon Ducks. Shout out to the Oregon Ducks. Y'all know I love you. But the Kobe stuff, she was close to Kobe. They had her all doing interviews talking about Kobe and Ionescu, this relationship. And I thought they were going to try to make a storyline out of her, but I don't know if she got hurt. I don't know if it just fizzled out or what. And Caitlin Clark is definitely picking up the baton with the white woman trope, the saving grace. Um, the lowest player in the NBA makes $1.2 million a year. The highest WNBA player makes $250,000 a year. And I noticed Jackie Young makes $252,450 this year, and the lowest NBA player makes 1.2 mil. I think that has a little bit to do with it. That's why they keep bringing up the money stuff with Caitlin Clark about the WNBA, the pay. That's what I've been hearing or whatever. That's why I want to ask you, like, have you been hearing that kind of discussion on your end?
Yeah, it's definitely a move because I mean, you ain't no way around it. Like you're losing money if you're a top college basketball player and you're a woman and you go to the WNBA, you're losing money. Like you're going from Angel Reese and Caitlin Clark and all them getting paid millions in commercials everywhere to the WNBA where that whole league is an afterthought. So yeah, they're gonna have to do something. She needs either a lot more sponsors, but something has to be done if they really want to justify her taking a pay cut to be there.
And one final question about her before we transition into another character. Um, she keeps saying that she's not coming back her final year because she gets an extra year. I think she got a COVID year for eligibility. Why wouldn't she just stay at Iowa again if she's getting that NIL money? Why would she go to the WNBA and get a pay cut? Honestly, I know she probably gets some sponsorships, but pay wise, she'd be making more if she stayed in college. Why would she leave now?
I would say the script. The script says so because at this point, this is as hot as this is gonna be. This as far as the trend with her. Because if she say Iowa wins what tomorrow or whatever day they play, and then she comes back next year, it's not as special anymore because she already won. She already broke all the records and stuff. So what now? Angel Reese would be gone. There's no other rival for her to go against.
Mm-hmm. It makes a lot of sense. That makes a lot of sense, and I guess that would add validity into people already jumping ahead to the WNBA. She would fall right into line with that if that's already the storyline. And that also suggests that there may be some exhaustion too of Caitlin Clark. You know, maybe this is her peak. If she stays in this year, she comes back again. Maybe there's not as much interest. Like you said, you don't have the rivalry with the LSU because that definitely played a part into the hype too. The black versus the white with Angel Reese versus Caitlin Clark, and they made a big deal about them talking trash to each other and stuff. Um, on the men's side of the tournament, you have NC State. I don't know if they played already or what, but I know that they made it to the Final Four, and then the women made it to the Final Four. Both NC State teams. And I know you made a reference to that earlier, but I'm more curious because you were getting some comments saying it's easier for you to say that now. Why come you didn't place a bet on NC State? I saw people talking trash about.
I did, and there was other shit that fucked up my parlay before that.
So, what do you say to people who are like, it's easy for you to say that stuff now or whatever, but you've been pretty consistent when you make these predictions.
Oh, I don't owe them. I don't owe them shit. Like if they want to be in their feelings, that's on them. I give a fuck what they think.
Did you bet in one time?
Yeah, yeah. My biggest thing more so like NASCAR.
Really,
That's my.
NASCAR?
It's one of the easiest ones to bet on because the odds are always in your favor. Well, sometimes not, but most of the time it's going to be heavily in your favor, and it's pretty predictable if you follow NASCAR just enough. Is very easy.
What's so easy about NASCAR compared to other sports?
I mean, it's a little biased considering I've been watching it for what 20 something years now. But it's really if you just know how what drivers do good at a certain track, probably bet on these because you can pick at least 3 drivers. They pick these 3 drivers. Surely one of them is gonna win. They all run good at this track. They all have a history of winning races at this track. Another one, sponsorship. That's a big one. Like last weekend, there was at Richmond, which is Denny Hamlin's home track. He's won what 4 times there before Sunday, and the sponsor was called Toyota Owners 400. So if you're betting, what manufacturer do you think people should put their money on?
Hmm.
And there's only one good racing team that has Toyotas consistently, and that's Joe Gibbs Racing with Denny Hamlin, Martin Truex Jr., and Joe Gibbs' grandson, Ty Gibbs. So put your money in those 3, and they rigged the race like hell to make sure Denny Hamlin won it.
NASCAR is also one of those sports too where the sponsors are right in your face. There's no hiding
Yes.
it. It's right on the car. You're looking at the sponsor literally doing the whole event. That's all you're looking at is just the sponsor. That definitely plays on the mind. No, but see, I don't watch NASCAR like that, so that's probably the reason why I'm just out of the dark completely when it comes to NASCAR related stuff. But I want to go back to the men's tournament and say that it generates more money than any other collegiate sport does. I think Brian Tuer was saying in his book, The Sport, The Fix Is Still In. I think he was saying that they generate basically 90% of the revenue for collegiate sports. The NCAA tournament does. And I asked
Wait,
him that,
time
and
out.
yeah,
Wait, so you mean to tell me the NCAA tournament generates more money than all of the bowl season and the college football
all the
playoffs?
bullshit, all that combined. It's in
That
his
is
book.
surprising.
I have to I had to find the passage where it says that, but I think I interviewed him the second time around, and he confirmed that, like, yeah, you're right. Yeah, it's 90% of collegiate sports, the NCAA men's tournament.
That makes sense with all the travel, different yeah, that makes sense.
But it's still a pretty mind-boggling stat, you know. And I was going to ask you where we at it with. I don't know if you have any particular things that you're watching out for the men's tournament. Do you have anything that you're looking at specifically?
I know one of the common themes this year is kind of the back-to-back thing. Kansas City kicked that off this year. UConn could go back-to-back this year as a possibility, or it could be Purdue. They could have the redemption story. And I saw this. I always see like random different things when I'm watching the game that just stick out. And I was watching Purdue play, I think Grambling. And at halftime, they panned to this Purdue fan or like someone in the band, and he had like a class ring. It was a very nice one, and he was pointing to it like this. And then they cut off, and I'm like, that's weird. Someone had just so happens to have this ring. They're pointing to it. Like, what are they trying to say?
That is also this happened. That was the first game they played. So you think it was some
Yeah,
kind of a signal?
yeah. Or like last year with UConn, the ESPN got bold with this one. They were promoting, the usual bracket thing where you can put in money and win. And the dude in the mirror in the commercial was like, bet UConn, bet the Huskies. And then, of course, they ended up winning. And in the commercial, it had the UConn Huskies logo and, bet UConn, and they won. And I was like, they gave out a freebie like that.
And
And
that
this
was
was a
where
commercial right after they had laid out the bracket and everything. This is before the tournament actually started.
that was on ESPN.
Yeah, ESPN commercial.
That's interesting because ESPN doesn't even have the rights to that tournament, right?
No.
CBS does.
Yeah, this wasn't for like the televising rights or anything. It's just like, their little, the thing in their app, in the ESPN app where you can bet on stuff.
Oh, but that's still, and it's crazy because we know that Stanford is right up the street from stores where they go to school. I mean, it's in
Mm-hmm.
the same state, UConn and ESPN, all that stuff. It's just crazy. Had it WWE, all that stuff is in Connecticut. They say,
Yep,
what
right
are
in
the
the same
chances?
hub.
It's almost like they have their own Vegas on the East Coast.
That's a good point. I didn't think about that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I was thrown up too when I asked Brian about I thought it was Eastern Sports Entertainment or something, ESPN. I thought it was Eastern Sports, and he said it was entertainment. I was like, are you serious? Like, I didn't even know that is even not part of the acronym. So they're telling you straight up like what it's about. Um, but I'm just the whole thing about the men's and the women's tournaments, it is exciting to watch. I'll say knowing all this stuff ahead of time that I'm not going to keep doing this stuff. But what do? It's almost like we have to follow it now because people won't know unless you expose them and show them the ideas. Otherwise, they're never going to know. They're just going to think it's something that's real. And maybe it is real to them. Maybe they know that there's something going on, but they don't care because their team is winning.
Yeah, that's another aspect of it. People tend to turn a blind eye when their team's benefiting from it a lot more. Versus if they lost, oh, they're gonna point some shit out real quick.
But before we transition to NBA, I want to slip this in. We know that Saban retired from Alabama. So what does that mean for that program, and what can we expect with the realignment of college football with all these conferences just a mess right now? Everything's all in the open now.
The power shift has officially taken hold. Like Alabama's not winning any championships with wasn't it Kalen DeBoer. They're gonna be good still, but they're not all that stuff you saw with Nick Saban them winning what like 5 championships. No, they just gonna be a good team. Georgia gonna be the team to worry about. Texas gonna be the team to worry about. Oklahoma might be the team to worry about when they stop choking, but Tennessee
When they
hopefully.
start choking.
Yeah, like it's shifted. The power has changed. So yeah, we're not gonna see. I almost said Florida State. We ain't gonna see Alabama being dominant like that anymore.
So who do you think benefits the most? If you're able to answer the question, are there any teams in particular do you think that benefit from it being expanded from 4 to 12 teams? And if so, who would be the beneficiary?
A team like a Ole Miss, somebody that's always around there, but they always mess up late in the year. A LSU, those type of teams, that just
You think
get
my Ducks
left
got a
out
chance to be
barely.
in that category?
Who?
My Oregon Ducks?
Yeah, oh yeah, y'all got like three good quarterbacks. Yeah, Oregon gonna be there. Yeah, for sure. They ain't gonna have Phil Knight School, Mr. Nike. They're not gonna have them being left out.
Oh yeah, that is a good point about Phil Knight. Yeah, we can't discredit that influence without a doubt. And they're in what conference now? Do you know?
The Big Ten.
The Big Ten. Wow, Ohio State, they've already kind of created this rivalry with them. They see they play a lot of those teams anyway before they join. They played them out of conference. Like Oregon, out of a lot of those teams, we should have seen the signal then because they would play all types of teams out of conference.
Didn't they play
LSU,
Michigan State too, or was that
Michigan
Washington?
State,
Yeah.
Michigan. They play all types of teams across the country, like out of conference, more so than any of those teams.
So yeah, we should have seen that coming. And same with the SEC with Texas, and then Texas was already playing Alabama 2 years prior. Oklahoma was playing Tennessee probably 10 years prior to that. So the seeds were planted.
Man, yeah, I guess it'd be more interesting at the very least. I mean, they're still going to be rigging the ass off, but it'd be interesting to see the 4 to 12 how that changes the dynamic. And I know I had alluded to this for the upcoming Men's World Cup that they're going to be 48 teams instead of 32 teams. So they're increasing the field by 16 teams, which is absolutely crazy if you ask me, because you're going to have a lot of bad matches. But maybe it gives those betting companies a better chance to get more people to lose their money too. So I don't know. There's definitely something behind that. But we have to discuss this about the NBA before we even get to the elephant in the room.
I know what that
Before
is.
we get to the elephant in the room, there's just so much with the NBA right now, just with the in-season tournament stuff. So it's to my understanding that there's two of these, right?
No, okay, so there's the in-season tournament, which is honestly just stupid, and then the play-in, which is the play-in to get into the playoffs, which is
Mm-hmm.
technically part of the playoffs. I hate the play-in. But yeah, that's basically what it is now. Is the 6, 7, 8, no 7, 8, 9, and 10 seeds in each conference will play games for the remaining 2 seeds
for the 7
of
and
each
8,
conference. Yeah, yeah,
and the top 6 automatically get in from each
yeah.
conference. Yeah, the playing game, I don't understand at all. Like, or not the playing, the end season tournament. I have no clue what the purpose of that is. Um, I still don't know if anyone's given a good reason for that. I mean, it's like, so what are we going to say? The Lakers are the champs? Like, uh,
Basically, it was to incentivize players not sitting out and for them to play harder. So they say, but conveniently, it just gave LeBron James something else to add to his fake ass legacy.
oh gosh. Okay, so we know who the elephant is. We know what the elephant is in the room, but we ain't gonna get there yet, y'all, because I have some questions before we get to LeBron. The Josh Giddey stuff I wanted to bring to you, to your attention too, like briefly. I don't know if you covered this on your channel or not, but it's just I've seen this before with like the white stars. Like he's not even a star. He would be like to me like a if you don't watch the NBA, you don't know who the hell Josh Giddey is. He's Australian, plays for the Oklahoma City Thunder. He's got a nice game, possible triple double machine. I think he set the record for the rookies with consecutive triple doubles, or he tied that record. I think he had 3 straight triple doubles his rookie year. But he's caught up in this underage scandal. Like he apparently had relations with this 15-year-old, I think. But it's almost like you had the Ja Morant stuff going on. It kind of overshadowed that situation with Josh Giddey, and then even the Kyrie the shot stuff. And I guess my question is, do you think that there's a double standard when it comes to even average white players in some of these professional sports leagues versus the enhanced extra attention given to some of the black superstars when it comes to getting in trouble, quote unquote?
Definitely. I mean, you brought up Josh Giddey and then how they crucified John Morant and all that. Same in the NFL. We saw was it CJ Wheeler. He beat the heck out of his girl. And ESPN was quiet. They even had a little ticker about it, but they didn't say nothing about it. And then Von Miller gets accused of something, and then they just go crazy on him. So there's clearly a double standard there because it breaks their stereotypes a little bit too.
I don't think Ray Rice played again, did he?
No, he did not.
And then there was a Kareem Hunt. I mean, there's just so many people. It seems like it's just a common trope. It's almost like they have the missing white women stuff in the media. Like that was always a thing when I grew up. It's always like the missing white woman, the missing white kid. And it's like that's national news, like one person missing of no prestige whatsoever, but yet that's like a national story. But you have these stories where a lot of the professional black athletes, like Deshaun Watson, the whole massage scandal. I mean, they made such a big deal about that. But then Ben Roethlisberger, like rape accusations,
Exactly.
and it's
Yeah.
like it's hardly even compared. I mean, it's crazy the comparisons. And Porzingis for the New York Knicks. You would think that someone like that, it would be like even bigger. He's international. He was a rising star at the time. And now you have such an emphasis on the international players with Giannis and Embiid and Jokic and all these.
Jokic, Luca. Yeah.
It's crazy. Um, that's definitely a double standard, but I was just curious why there was like no kind of like not even a game suspension handed to Giddey just for this possible involvement with this underage girl.
Yeah. It's really just the blatant double standard right there. Is the fact they're not since they're not gonna talk about it, they're just gonna let it just ride out, and people gonna forget about it. So there's no need to act and do anything. Versus when you're just constantly talking about this, constantly eyeballs, people are expecting some type of punishment or expecting something to happen to them.
And just to be clear, John Morant didn't commit a crime at all, did he?
Nah, I think the worst thing was he wasn't supposed to have a gun. The first time he wasn't supposed to have a gun in the club. That was it. But other than that, he didn't do anything.
So how's that any different than someone shooting a gun at a gun range? Like he legally had a right to the gun, right? He
Yeah,
flashed the gun, but how is that any different than someone shooting a gun at the gun range?
exactly. It doesn't make sense as to what's so bad. But besides the fact you're a quote unquote role model to kids, but other than that, like there's nothing wrong with that.
And then the Kyrie stuff, they suspended him what 5 games? He missed 5 games. He honestly missed more than that probably. With we know the jab stuff. I mean, they blackballed this man for no reason because he refused to get the jab. And the crazy thing about it, when he played for the Brooklyn Nets, it was illegal within the New York City area, but people could be unvaccinated from other cities and play them, and they wouldn't be suspended at all. Which
That's
is crazy.
crazy. That's insane.
And so many people were like, Kyrie, he's a problem. He's a troublemaker. He doesn't want to play. And I'm just like, man, we really need to be careful when it comes to just people are just so quick to judge because the media is so, I guess they put the eyes on it. They're already just telling you a story without saying anything because just them emphasizing it is them giving an opinion about it. It's not just like them reporting on it. They're pointing you in that direction on purpose. And so they're automatically drawing you in, but it's like, how do we automatically go to Kyrie's bad, he's bad? Like he doesn't get any benefit of the doubt.
It's really well for the whole shot thing. As hard as they were pushing it, they needed to make an example out of somebody to pressure other people into getting it. So that's why they had to make sure they sent someone like a Kareem and all these big name athletes and celebrities to attack him. So then, because other people look up to those other celebrities who are attacking him, and it's like, damn, Kyrie Irving must be really bad because he ain't getting the whatchamacallit. Same thing they did with Aaron Rodgers. He ain't getting the whatchamacallit, but all these other players calling him out got it. And I like those players. So since they said it's safe, then I should get it too. That's basically what they're doing.
Yeah, I do think that there was some good brotherhood though. I think that's why they kind of squashed it because some people were like, you know what, we need to kind of let people do their own thing. Like even LeBron, to my surprise, I know he was kind of gave safe answers, but he didn't really throw anyone under the bus. Like everyone was pretty much like, man, leave that man alone. Like Jaylen Brown, I think, was pretty vocal because he was the president of the union at the time, and he was like we need to let Kyrie do his thing. Like there's no reason for him to be missing games over something like this.
Yeah, it's that, and I think it's also the fact they constantly was getting asked this question in press conferences, and they got tired of being asked about Kyrie Irving when they didn't even play the Brooklyn Nets, and it's like, why you ask about him when he wasn't on the other team? He's not on my team. So there's that too.
As far as the league itself now, the NBA that is, this is kind of transitioning into LeBron. Um, I personally, he used to be like my favorite player, honestly. Like I just thought he was so likable. That's what I liked about him. I thought he was just a good guy that played basketball. He has this whole marketing aura around him. The league is obviously pushing him as been the number one guy, like they did MJ. But as far as LeBron is concerned, I'll ask a question that's related to him, but then we'll focus more on him. My question is, who is the current face of the NBA and who's going to be the current face or faces post LeBron?
Right now, it's still LeBron James and a little bit of Steph Curry. And then after LeBron is finally done, they gonna probably ride with Steph Curry for a little bit more. Then gravitate to like a Luca. Jokic really isn't marketable enough to for that to work. And then they have Giannis. So like those are the main ones. Maybe Anthony Edwards. That's who I would go with personally. If I had to pick a black athlete and a white one, I would. But the white one would be Luca. The black one would be Anthony Edwards and John Morant. Those are the two I would roll with.
Okay, so you answered that question. LeBron is still the face, and that's the interesting part. I don't see the comparisons much with MJ and LeBron. When people make those comparisons, first of all, they play completely different positions, really. I mean, LeBron is almost part of this positionless basketball era where, I mean, LeBron, hypothetically, I mean, he could play whatever position he wants to in today's NBA. I mean, there's such an emphasis away from the big man. I mean, I guess it's becoming more implemented, but still, it's not like it used to be where a big man was required to grab rebounds, basically. I mean, it wasn't like you don't go to the big man for like all the points and stuff, even though they're, so domineering. But he's positionless. MJ was clearly a shooting guard, but it's like the longevity is what's crazy. MJ was almost not even relevant when he played with the Wizards. But how is LeBron still so relevant and he's at the end of his career?
The fact that Clutch Sports has a strong hold on the mainstream media. So they always pushing these false narratives that LeBron is this and that. ESPN, Fox Sports. So that's why there's always LeBron James is viewed as in the GOAT conversation, or he's even brought up when he shouldn't be. It's for that fact alone. They'll be quick to bring that up, but they don't want to talk about the steroids. Why is that?
Oh, the Balco. Do you
Yeah,
think he's
why is
on the
that?
juice?
ESPN. 20 years in the league. Yeah. Yeah, and my biggest thing is this: we talking about longevity. He sits out so many games. Everybody from the 90s and 80s was not doing. They were playing 82 games, and now players can't even play 50. So what are we talking about longevity?
That's a good point. That is a good point. Um, you mentioned Clutch Sports. Isn't Draymond a part of Clutch Sports?
Yep.
He's another.
Who else?
I can't put my
Trey
finger
Young,
on
that's another one. Ben Simmons. There's a good amount.
that. Draymond really stands out because honestly, he's probably going to be a Hall of Famer, which is crazy to say. He could potentially be a Hall of Famer. The media already says when they retire as Hall of Famers, Clay, Steph, and him, they say it already, like the three amigos. And how is he able to get away with what he was able to get away with the Jordan Poole situation? Someone that sucker punch a teammate, basically. I don't care what the person said that leads up to that point, but how are you able to get away with something that blatant and then they ship the other guy off? They ship this motherfucker off and you stay on the team. And he was a part of that championship too. I mean, they were saying the pool party, the Splash Brothers, and then all of a sudden it's like Jordan Poole, he's going to the Wizards.
Yeah, that's mainly because Draymond's been there longer too. So there's that seniority, and there's this. I don't like to say loyalty because there's really no loyalty in basketball, but kind of like this unspoken loyalty with those. It was like these are the main three that was here before we got Steve Kerr, before we became dynasty of the Warriors. So we feel like we need to keep him, basically.
And I think what you've been saying almost gives me the suggestion that Draymond is almost protected by the league because of that relationship that he has with LeBron and the Clutch Sports. Because it's crazy. I think he's still part of the Turner Network, Draymond is, because I know at least they used to have him on the telecast with Barkley and EJ and everyone else, Kenny Smith and Shaq. But they basically gave him a fucking infomercial after he punched this dude in the fucking face. They gave him an infomercial and was like, he didn't even fucking cry. Like he wasn't crying about it, this stupid ass melodramatic music. And I'm like, you would think he was the motherfucker that got hit. Like the way they did it, TNT gave like a 7-minute special to Draymond basically saying he apologized to Jordan Poole, but yet they made it seem like they were protecting Draymond. Like it made him seem like he was the victim.
Yeah, that's the thing. He can do basically anything and not really have any real repercussions. Sure, he'll get kicked out of a game or whatever, but even then, he's not really suspended for a long time. Even when he had, was it Rudy Gobert in a chokehold and he hit, was it Nurkic in the face? He was suspended, what, maybe 3 games? So yeah, he's aware that since he's buddies with LeBron James, he's on Clutch Sports. He's damn near Teflon. He can do whatever he wants. He ran KD out of Golden State. People forget that part.
He did. And he almost got it to where people turned on KD, like KD was a snake. And I'm not even gonna lie, I was one of those people. I was like, damn, the thing about KD with me was like, it was already a championship team before he joined the team. Like it was pretty obvious that they were going to win with him. I mean, he's just an extra shot in the arm. I'm like, damn, you already got Steph, Clay, Draymond, and all these other Iguodala, all these players, and then you add KD on it. It's like, of course you're going to win a ring. And my point was that if you add LeBron to that same roster, I believe they still win a championship or two.
Theoretically, I don't know if their playing styles would mesh well at all. Like, their playing styles probably wouldn't mesh as well
Okay.
as people would think. But yeah, Kevin Durant going there, it was a head scratcher when I first saw it. It's like, but it's the team you lost to. But to be fair, people like to leave this part out anytime they mention Kevin Durant leaving OKC to go there. They were the Warriors and Kevin Durant, they was already talking about him joining like halfway through the season before the playoffs and all that stuff. Like this was already in the works. This wasn't just some spur of the moment. You know what? Russell ain't it. Let me play with Steph. It wasn't like that. This was already planned out.
And before we get to LeBron to close this conversation out, I want to say, how much does the Draymond, the 2016, that game when he sat out, does that have anything to do with that beginning of that relationship with him and LeBron? Because it seems like that's not even talked about much. Like for them to win that championship, Draymond missed game 6, I believe, right? This
Yeah,
is
he was out game 6, and then that's the game Steph fouled out too. Was game 6? He threw the mouthpiece. So
so
yeah, I don't know how long he's been signed to Clutch, but yeah, that definitely played a role. Not a
mhm.
coincidence that he got into it with LeBron.
Okay. So as far as LeBron is concerned, to my audience and to people who don't follow basketball, how should people view LeBron James? The current LeBron James and the LeBron James that presumably is going to retire soon.
Mm. As a fraud, nothing else. No ways around it.
And
I
how
mean, you
so?
think
Like,
about it.
what exactly is he? Would you consider MJ a fraud too, or is that going too far?
I mean, I'd say everyone has their own marks per se against them. I'd say Kobe had the least, considering he got passed over in his prime for LeBron James. So there's that. But with LeBron James, I've never seen someone have to control the narrative so much for why he's supposedly the GOAT. If you the GOAT, why do you have to keep saying it? I've never heard Tom Brady call himself the GOAT. I've never heard Kobe say it. I've never heard Michael Jordan say he was the GOAT. But for some reason, LeBron James just keeps having to say it. He has to make up a podcast where he has to push the same narratives that ESPN are pushing on top of that. And if you're so good, why is it that you always need help? Why is it you've played with over 25 Olympians? Somehow you still need help. Somehow he had the nerve to say that the 2011 team that lost to the Mavericks, he said they needed more help. They had Chris Bosh and Dwayne Wade, two future Hall of Famers. Talking about I need more help. What are we talking about here? And on top of that, people love to bring up the argument that since LeBron went to more finals than MJ, not win, just go, that should count for something and he should get points for that. Like it's just every little thing about him. Every single narrative they push, he's not a better teammate. He doesn't really play defense. That's another thing. People get caught on highlights and looking at the stat sheet. And if you actually watch him play defense or actually watch his team on defense, he's standing with his hands on his hips near the basket trying to cherry pick rebounds.
He said cherry pick.
Yeah, I've even growing up playing basketball, I've never seen someone cherry pick rebounds. That's a whole new thing to me.
That's hilarious. But I don't be paying attention to that aspect of it, but I have heard people say that LeBron James he definitely passed the stats. Like I've heard that. That's been
Oh,
kind of
he
his
ain't the only one to do that. Luka passed stats. A lot of players that pass stats, but LeBron James is the worst about it because he does it in garbage time. You
Mm.
try to hurt him get a quick 10. And it's like, oh, I need to get 30 points. Hold on. Who we playing? Oh, the Bulls? Oh, watch this. And they got the reserves in? Watch this. Transition. Let's go. And he'll get quick 10 points.
I've never seen a player have that much influence on a team as far as like almost to the point of where you think that he's got more power than the coach does. Like, because even with MJ, like Phil Jackson was like such a strong personality in himself. Um, like Phil was the guy. Like people knew that. It wasn't like you had MJ, but you also had Scottie Pippen, you had Phil Jackson. Like they had some good people on those teams, like Rodman, and then even the first three people you had Horace Grant. I mean, they had some good people. And I think they overemphasized Jordan at times because Jordan had some dogs with him. It really did. And that started from the coaching scheme. The triangle was almost unbeatable during that time period. I don't think people factor that stuff in. But LeBron, it's like I've seen him be on Cleveland and they changed the whole roster because of LeBron James. Like I'm like, who else has that control to where they dump the whole roster and bring in a whole set of people because of another guy? Like that's what he wants.
Exactly. Like Kobe couldn't even do that with the Lakers, and he was a lifer with the Lakers. He's obviously one of the biggest legends the Lakers have ever had. And they stopped Chris Paul from going there. But for some reason, LeBron James can get everybody he wants on his team.
Can you say that again about Chris Paul?
Chris Paul was supposed to go to the Lakers, and David Stern vetoed the trade. He was like, we don't want. They gonna be too good because Kobe was in his prime, and I think Chris Paul was in his prime at the same time. So they
When
didn't
was
want
this?
that.
Was this before LeBron was there?
LeBron was what in the league?
No, before LeBron was on the Lakers, right?
Oh, this is way before LeBron. LeBron was still in Cleveland when this was going
So you're
on the
talking about
first
when
time.
Kobe was still in his prime.
Yeah.
Wow. That's crazy. And then that this happened again when LeBron was on the Lakers with Chris Paul, because that's why I was confused. Then they block him again
Mm,
because there were talks of Chris
no,
Paul going to the Lakers, and he picked the Suns instead, and they were like, "Well, the Lakers aren't allowing him to go on the team with LeBron." Like I heard people saying that
I think that's just lip service, really.
lip
Like,
service.
yeah, that's always been a narrative they want to push is Chris Paul going to team up with LeBron James. It's like what they did with Melo or any of his friends they do that with. But yeah, I mean, another thing is people don't, in as far as locker rooms go, people don't really like Chris Paul a whole lot because he played the politics games too much. And if you have him and LeBron, and you know how toxic that can be in the same locker room, oh, you could cut the tension in there with a knife.
How much longer is he going to be in the league, LBJ?
I say he probably has 3 years max.
That seems like a long time. 3 years.
I know. What's this year 20? I think it's year 20.
Mm-hmm.
23. Think about it. He could play 23 years wearing number 23. 2 times 3 is 6. He wore 6. So I say 3, and they give him enough time for Bronny to get into the league because I know he declared for the draft this year, but he entered the transfer portal and he's really not ready. But they gonna make sure that he plays with his son. That sounded weird, but yeah, they're like they gonna make sure they're gonna be teammates.
Do you think that he stays with the Lakers, or does he go back to the Cavs, or does he go to another team?
I think he stays with the Lakers because I mean, who really wants a dude who is pushing damn near 40 and is gonna require that much power and that much money on your team? Like every time he gets somewhere, what does he do? He gets rid of the young players because he can't develop young players either. That's another thing. But yeah, you're giving up your future just for LeBron James for what 2 years? It's not even worth it.
I know I made this comment before we go. I had to slip this in because I made a comment about the bubble ring, the Mickey Mouse ring. And I know that this is a common, I guess, thing against his legacy. This is an X against his legacy. But to me, it seemed pretty pre-planned to hold the Lakers winning in 2020. Like it was obvious to me, like in Orlando, Florida, Mickey Mouse, you got Disney, Universal, all that stuff going on down there. Its own entertainment system. But there was a game where they beat the Nuggets and Anthony Davis hit the game winner. I don't know if you remember this or not.
I remember.
Do you remember the comments that were made after that game?
That was a magnet, Charles Barkley, and they got real quiet. No one said anything for a solid 10 seconds.
I can't, I go back to that moment a lot. And And I'm just saying, did Barkley, was he supposed to say that? Or was that just something like I'm still trying to figure out, did he say that on purpose? Or did it really just genuinely come out like he's got a magnet? Like there's no way that he made that shot on his own. Because it's like people didn't even react to that when he said it. And he's arguably the most popular personality in the sports world that commentates.
I think that was really just him saying it because it wasn't like they tried to joke it off or nothing like that. They just got quiet, like they didn't know how to react to it.
I tried to because I have a lot of friends that follow sports, and I showed them that, like, do you see that? Hardly any reaction to it at all. And I'm just like, why is that? Like, why wouldn't that cause any kind of red flag or pause if you saw a guy make a shot and then the most popular personality on TV said that there's a magnet and you just don't, you have no reaction to it whatsoever?
I think it's because it was a swish, it was nothing but net versus like Kawhi Leonard's shot where you saw it bounce around a little bit too much, and it's like that's not normal. Or what's the one? There was one yesterday from I think Becker shot it, and it had like a triple bouncer and from the side from three, and it went in. It's like basketball does not triple bounce from the side. Oh no, if you shooting from the side, it hits the rim. It's not gonna bounce and go in at all.
And I know the infamous one Dame had the half court shot that Dame hit was a pretty blatant example of like how is that even possible for it to change that quickly? The basketball, like there's no way. But how did the magnets get in there? Like I guess my audience would be like, that's crazy. That's suggesting that there's magnetic fields in the basketballs or there's manipulation of the basketballs. Like, what would you tell people who would think you're just crazy that this isn't a possibility?
Then why if it's so crazy to think that there's magnets and that influence shots in basketball, why is it fans can't take the NBA ball home? Why are they so particular about it? Why is it they only have 3 balls that they use the whole year and they're kept under heavy watch?
That's crazy. Um, I was okay. So, are you talking about game balls, and what exactly are you referring to?
Game balls, whenever I say fans can't take the game balls home. And also teams only have 3 all year, 3 game balls that they use that they interchange that are kept under as heavy surveillance, and they have to meet certain specifications, strict specifications. So all them other balls they got on the ball rack and they shooting around, those are just for that, shooting around and all that. But the game ball, they are making sure we got an eye on that.
Mm, that's something I need to look into more. And I'm glad you brought that up because it's not something that I was aware of. Is the three game, but that's very specific. We know that this isn't something that's out of the ordinary in the sports world. I mean, you had the, the scandal with New England, the Cheatriots. So it's not like it's anything that's out of the norm, you know, to alter the size of the ball or anything like that. Just like adding extra air to it or whatever. So yeah, that's interesting. But I don't know, Lobo. I was excited. I'm excited about the reception of this interview. I covered all I wanted to cover, unless there's something that you want to leave with my audience, like the final seconds or minutes that you want to leave with my audience. Anything you want to say? Shout out to anyone, especially.
Let's see. Since we on the Magnets real quick, in the NFL, they've even said they put a chip in the ball. Why are we putting a chip in the ball in the first place? NBA on the is Wilson now who makes it. They mentioned it has digital technology in there. I'm gonna say it again. Digital techno. Why is digital technology in a basketball? Just ask that. Just think about that for a second. If it's a basketball, we just playing a game. Why is there digital technology? Now I can go to Walmart and get a basketball. It don't have shit in there but air. So
Mhm.
why is that? Something to think about.
Yeah, that's a really good point. So that leads me to a question. So is it just the basketball, or what about the backboard? Like, what about the floor itself?
I don't believe in the floor. I've heard people say they can manipulate the dribbling. You don't need that. These are professional basketball players. They can mess up a dribble on purpose if they need to. I've seen it plenty of times. But as far as like, is it the backboard and everything? Yes. They really just got to get it in the vicinity near like the square. It's like missile guidance technology. And that's when you see like the shot start doing all this weird shit where it be hooking. And then instead of it, where it should have hit like the back iron and bounced off, it all of a sudden beelines and nosedives.
And I've seen balls that just hang on the rim. Just like, how do you explain that? It just stays on there like that.
Yeah, it's not supposed to do that.
And that's it. I tell you, this is something that's crazy. That's a very interesting point and a great question. Like, what's the point of putting something like that in a basketball? Like, what's the purpose? Like, what purpose could that serve? I mean, it can only serve one purpose, and that's to manipulate the game. I mean, that's the only thing I can think of.
Exactly. Make sure that someone makes the right shot and someone misses a shot when they need them to.
Somebody got a remote control.
Yeah, man. Yeah. I've seen some shots in these tournaments where they done pushed the ball out. Where you saw like, okay, that should have went in and just rolled out. Like, okay, that's what we're doing.
And I just want to say again, Lobo, check out his channel. It's like I said, it's a popular, it's a growing channel. It should have more subscribers than what it has, but I'm glad that he is getting some notoriety, and hopefully he'll continue to get notoriety and popularity with his Lobo TV that he also has going on. But I just wanted to say thanks again. This was a great episode 113. I'm excited that you decided to come back onto the show again. Didn't mean to invite you on so quickly, but just due to the urgency of some of these things, I had to bring you back on. You've already been on the record saying that you believe I was going to beat South Carolina and defeat them for the first time this year. There's definitely something to look out for. The Iowa South Carolina NAA women's college national championship game is coming up. Caitlin Clark, the new white hope. um, I was very interested. You don't think she's going to pan out in the WNBA, like based on everything you said?
Nah, I didn't say that. I said she's not gonna save the WNBA. Like she's gonna be good, but it's not gonna draw enough interest for people to really tune in to WNBA games.
Oh, gotcha. Okay, I'm glad that you clarified that, and I'm glad that you brought that up to me. No, yeah, that makes sense. I definitely don't want to misrepresent you, but no, that makes a lot. That's good. So yeah, the WNBA, the product won't change, but she'll be pretty good in the league, but not as good as people think she's going to be. Beautiful people. I don't know who we have coming up next, but again, subscribe to my channel for free. Subscribe to Lobo's channel. We're independent media. You're not going to find these types of views represented on any other channels. They're unique for a reason. They're independent for a reason. Truly independent. So give us again subscription for free. It doesn't cost you a dime at all to do that to support independent media. I don't understand it. People are hesitant. They give us so much criticism, but I'm just like, are you doing that to some of this other stuff? I mean, just be fair about it. If you like the content, support it. You know, that's the way I would end this conversation. And beautiful people, enjoy the rest of your day. Unless Lobo has something else he wants to lead with, I just want to say enjoy the rest of your day, beautiful people.
Yeah, man. Enjoy your day, man. Stay safe out there.
Thank you so much, and we'll talk soon. Cheers, everybody.